Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you. So we're coming back to Adventure Prank Kids. Adventure Prank back on the menu for the first time in quite a while. This deck is one that was once considered to be, about a year and a half ago, the best deck in Master Duel. And if you didn't play during that time, it might sound a little bit weird. Like, really? This deck? But yes, definitely this deck. And actually, the deck as it is right now is at the same power level as when it came in to Master Duel initially and was a Tier 1 deck. Back in the day, we had 2 Water Enchanters and 2 Fusion Destiny, and now, once again, here in March of 2024, again about a year and a half later, we do have these cards back at 2. Of course, power creep has definitely caught up to a deck like this. I will say that Adventure Prank Kids might struggle a little bit in the meta. Definitely, it will not be returning to its Tier 1 status, but I do think that this is still a fairly good deck. So, for those who are not in the know about how Adventure Prank Kids tends to play, basically the idea is that any one of the Prank Kids is a 1-card combo line by itself. Prank Kids plays by virtue of adding the Prank Kid from deck to hand is also a 1-card combo line by itself. The Meow Meow Moo to 2 is going to be, or to 3 rather, we were only playing 2, but this card went back to 3. And that is going to be the main reason as to why we're able to play this deck again. I touched on the Fusion Destiny and Water Enchantress earlier, and, you know, having those cards at 1 was a little bit annoying, but the Meow Meow Moo at 1 was definitely what made this deck just not nearly as good as it once was, because Prank Kids always needs a Meow Meow Moo to start their combo line. They can do plays if they have, like, some 2-card combo hands, but, like, really, you need the Meow Meow Moo in order to make any amount of really significant plays in this deck the vast majority of the time. And when this card was limited, it was really hard to do that. Like, you would set up your turn 1, sure, but it was hard to have literally any amount of grind game. If your opponent answered your turn 1 board at all, it was extremely difficult to then come back. So now this card is back at 3. Again, we're only playing 2, but now that's back at 3, we have that potential to have follow-up again. Also, it definitely, you know, if you get disrupted at all during your turn 1 combo line, then you kind of just can't play for the rest of the game, right? So, definitely not optimal in that regard. One thing that I am trying out in this particular iteration that was not previously in Master Duel is the Promethean Princess Bestower of Flames. This is not a card that I planned to go into very regularly, but this deck does have quite a few fire monsters, of course, so just the ability to potentially pivot into this and then Amble Whale if you get disrupted, I thought might be worth exploring. Getting fire locked is not something you want to be in this deck, especially when your Prank Kids Pandemonium is going to Prank Kids lock you. And indeed, these 2 cards do have a bit of inherent anti-synergy to them. That's not to say that they are unplayable together, but yeah, I will say that the Princess is not something you should expect to go into. I was going to say every game, but I will also be honest that I have not yet actually gone into this card in this deck, and am kind of considering taking it out along with the Amble Whale. One card that I do think is very much needed for the extra deck is going to be the Underworld Goddess of the Closed World. As this deck has a bit of a time not only against Kaijus, but also if a card even has, like, Destruction and Battle or Card Effects Protection, right? Like, if it can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects, like Avramax, for example, when made with IP, this deck without Underworld Goddess actually can't out that. So in that regard, I think it is important to have the Underworld Goddess, and I think moving forward, I'm definitely going to take it, or include it back in the deck, probably just taking these 2 out. The other extra card I might add, just something generic, I don't know. I think in the past, I even played 2 Link Spider. One, you know, using one with the adventure token, another for Nibiru, but that's probably not needed in the grand scheme of things. The only situation I could really see needing 2 Link Spider is if you have an awkward turn 1 and you have to make DPE or Vert using Link Spider plus a random card, then go into DPE, and then happen to need the Link Spider later to go into access code, I guess, off of, like, the Unicorn? Yeah, I don't know. It's like, I think second Link Spider is probably not needed. Could do a third Meow Meow Moo. There's a number of cards you can play in the extra deck, really. Second Rocket Ride, potentially, but I don't even know if you need that. I think otherwise, though, our main deck is like pretty standard here. I think the only change I would really make to the main deck is I don't think you actually need 3 Prank Kids Fancies. In the past, I've played 2, and you definitely only need 2 Roxys. You don't have to play 3 of this card either. But in the past, I've only played 2 Fancies, and I think I would probably do that now. And just play a little more Disruption, maybe an Effect Veiler, maybe... I'm trying to think about Droll. Like, this deck doesn't always have the best plays through Droll, so I might not include that. I've mentioned this before in the past, but my big tiebreaker right now for whether or not I include Droll and Lockbird in a deck is if the deck itself can actually play through it, right? Because if it can, then you can use the Droll and Lockbird aggressively against Max C. This deck, just between the Adventure Engine and Prank Kids Place, it's kind of hard to play through Droll most of the time, so... I don't know. I think otherwise I really like this build. We're doing just about everything that the deck wants to be doing. I'm not on Terratop, which I have been including in a lot of past Adventure Engines. With Water Enchantress up at 2, I think that's enough of a consistency boost that you don't need to be playing Terratop and Cherubini in like every single deck that plays the adventure stuff, right? Now, I don't think it would be bad in a deck like this, to be fair. But I think main deck space is probably the main reason I don't play it. That's the thing too, right? If you're playing Terratops, then you're adding Talkatomborg as well, which is like another card you don't want to open in addition to like the Dracoback and the Fateful Adventure and also the Destiny Hero monster. So at that point, it's like you gotta play over 40. But the problem is that Prank Kids is kind of known for being a very consistent 1-card combo deck. If you're going over 40, now you're messing with that aspect of the deck, and it's like, is that actually worth it at that point? To make your adventure line more consistent, to make your Prank Kid line less consistent? I kind of don't think it is, but I don't think it's terrible either, for what it's worth. Like if I saw Adventure Prank Kids with Terratop, I would not call that an unoptimal build. At least I'm not comfortable enough to say that at this point in testing with the deck here. So... yeah, I mean, I don't really know that I have much more to say about this list. If you've played this deck in the past, then it's pretty much still the exact same deck. If you haven't, and you're kind of wondering, okay, what does the Prank Kids line actually end you on? The main incentive is to end on Battle Butler, right? The ability to blow up all monsters on the opponent's board plays pretty well, especially with, again, the Meow Meow Moo, which is important not only for comboing, but also for... banishing itself in order to let the Battle Butler do not 1 but 2 board wipes of the opponent's monsters during their turn, which can often be enough to just end the duel right there. But it's kind of matchup dependent as well. That's another reason why I do think Prank Kids are a little weak in today's Yu-Gi-Oh, right? You know, back when they were a tier 1 deck, blowing up the opponent's board was like pretty much always a good thing. And also, especially doing it twice, pretty much always assured that they were out of plays. It's really actually not the case anymore. Not only do decks have a lot more extension than they did a year and a half ago, but on top of that, there's also just a lot more, especially in this meta in particular, stuff that really cares about being in the graveyard. So destroying everything on their board isn't even guaranteed to, like, you know, be good all the time. But to be fair, that was also, again, true when Battle Butler was still good. So... I don't know if that's much of a factor. I think it all comes down to power creep, right? Like, after playing with this deck, I don't know if I'm comfortable calling it higher than Rogues here, even if they did get the Water Enchantress and Meow Meow Mews back. Just, again, because I think power creep has definitely caught up to a deck like this, but I don't think that means it's bad. Not by any stretch of the imagination. But, funnily enough, even though Adventure Phantom Knight was the slightly worse deck back then, nowadays I think it's actually the slightly better deck, just because I think it aged a little bit better. But I think more testing is definitely needed to see exactly where the Prank Kids lie in this current meta, in this state in the game, really. So... let's break this list down card by card, and then we'll look at some games. We are on 3 Prank Kids Fancies, 3 Maxi, 3 Prank Kids Dropsies, 3 Ash Blossom and a Joyous Spring, 3 Prank Kids Lampsies, 1 Destiny Hero Denier, 2 Water Enchantress of the Temple, 2 Prank Kids Roxies, 1 Destiny Hero Dasher, 1 Wandering Griffin Rider, 1 Nibiru the Primal Being, 2 Fusion Destiny, 2 Rite of Armiseer, 1 Dracoback the Rideable Dragon, 3 Prank Kids Place, 1 Prank Kids Pranks, 1 Fateful Adventure, 2 Called by the Grave, 1 Prank Kids Pandemonium, 1 Cross-Eyed Designator, and then 3 Infinite Permanents. That's going to be our 40-card main deck. For the extra deck, we're on 1 Prank Kids Rocket Ride, 1 Prank Kids Weather Washer, 1 Destiny Hero Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer, 1 Prank Kids Battle Butler, 1 Link Spider, 2 Prank Kids Meow Meow Moo, 2 Prank Kids Dodo Doodle Doo, 1 Prank Kids Bow Wow Bark, 1 Predaplant Vert Anaconda, 1 Nightmare Unicorn, 1 Promethean Princess Bestower of Flames, 1 Amphibious Storm Ship Ambler Whale, and then 1 Access Code Talker. There is our list. Let's see some gameplay now. Okay, our first opponent is going to be on Snake Eye. I think we should definitely start by seeing a matchup where we take on the big meta threats right now. I'm going to take the first turn here, opening a lot of Prank Kids as well as Ash Blossom and Called By. This is a reason why you don't need to play, like, max out on every copy of the Prank Kids, right? And why I consider going down to 2 fancies is because a lot of the time you'll open hands like this where you just have, like, multiple Prank Kids, and that is one kind of drawback I will say about Prank Kids being a 1-card combo deck, is that while any Prank Kids monster is a 1-card combo, as soon as you open the second one, they have, like, greatly diminishing returns, as in no copy beyond the first really does much of anything, unfortunately. So here we are going to get hit with the Imperm, right? And that does seem like it might be a combo ender, but in this case, it's actually not. We can just go into another Doodle Doodle Doo, which you would want to do anyway for the main combo line, right? Gonna cycle the Roxy's here, gonna get the Lampsies out, or the Fansies rather. Okay, now here the opponent's gonna use the Gamma as I'm trying to add back Dropsies and Pandemonium. So, as far as my decision point here, I think I need to Ash Blossom this Gamma, because here's the thing, right? If you Ash Blossom Gamma, it just goes back into their hand. Gamma's also not once per turn, so if I Ash Gamma, they can just use it again this turn. However, I don't think I actually need to activate any more monster effects this turn, because what I'm about to do is add back the Dropsies and Pandemonium, which I can then set Pandemonium and Call By, and then just activate Fusion Destiny, summon DPE, pass over to my opponent, and then I just have to be mindful to not use any monster effects until my opponent has a monster on the field. Then they can't Gamma me anymore, then I'm good to go, is my plan here. So, I am going to use the Ash Blossom against the Gamma, even though, again, it'll just go back in their hand, and it's not once per turn, so they could use it again this turn if I do end up activating another monster effect. So I do get back the Dropsies and the Pandemonium. I'm going to activate the Fusion Destiny. I get my DPE. I'm going to have the Battle Butler for their board wipe, and then a Call By as well. Should be good here, except, oops, I'm a total dummy, and I forgot to set my Pandemonium. I actually also forgot to set the Call By. I was streaming these games, so I was a little bit distracted. That's going to be my excuse, but it's not much of an excuse, because I remember this happened when I used to play Prank Kids back in the day. I don't know why this one deck, I just forget to set the card you have to set to make plays sometimes. So that's a pretty big misplay on my part, of course, and it's definitely going to make my life a little bit more difficult here. So opponent's going to Diabell to set the original Sin. I used the DPE here on the original Sin, because I thought, well, here, what I thought my opponent was going to do was activate original Sin effects to just add the Snake Eye Ash and then normal summon it, right? And I was going to use that to, if nothing else, eat their normal summon. I guess I could have just waited for the Snake Eye Ash to get summoned and done it later in the combo line, to be fair. But here my opponent normal summoned Ash Blossom anyway, so both of us, I think, misplayed here. But my misplays have definitely been bigger, so. Because not only did I debate, I mean, using DPE at that moment is like, you could. There's at least some amount of debate as to whether that was right or not. I don't think it was, by the way. I don't think I should have done that, but you could, if nothing else, debate it. But not setting up the Pandemonium was definitely not the right call here. And the opponent getting to Call By my DPE is going to be a pretty big punishment here. But thankfully, again, for me, they did not normal summon Snake Eye Ash, and they normal summoned Ash Blossom instead. So we are actually going to end up being good to go here. Well, relatively good to go. But if I'd had the Battle Butler up too, then I could, yeah, it would have just been super Jover. Like, well, really what I should have done is I should have popped the Diabell. Why did I pop the original Sin? I should just pop the Diabell. That was the line. But anyway. Gonna use the Adventure here, or the right of Armus here to set the Adventure token. Opponent is going to get some of the Snake Eye Ash. That does actually allow me to add the, equip spell here. Also, my opponent not negating the right of our Messier with the Baron was also a misplay for sure. Like, I activated the right expecting to bait out the Baron negate right then and there, but then it didn't, and I was like, oh, okay, that's fine. So, it still will be able to threaten the Baron and force it just with the Draco back now instead of the right itself, which again, I thought that was going to be the end of our combo, or the end of our, not the end of our combo, why did I say that? I thought that was going to be where they used the Baron, is what I meant to say, but then we would have gotten to combo with a Prank Kid, which I'm going to do now. So with the Pandemonium now discarded, I mean, to be fair, I could still grab it back with the Doodle-Doodle-Doo, but I've already used both of those, so I can't exactly do that anymore. So I'm going to go for an access code line here, which, to be fair, I can OTK anyway, so I think it's just the right play, right? Yeah, just getting the extra Prank Kid. The only thing to remember when you're going for an access code line with Prank Kids is that the Prank Kids only summon another copy from the deck if you link into a Prank Kids monster, so just make sure that you are keeping that in mind, right? Like that if you want to get an extra body from deck and you're counting on that, you have to summon a prank. You have to link into a Prank Kids monster to actually get the Prank Kids effect to summon another copy, or not another copy, but another a different Prank Kid from the deck there. So there was that first duel. This was me kind of getting the rust off of just my gameplay with Prank Kids. I was definitely very rusty with it. Both my opponent and I did a fair bit of misplaying there, but you know what? If we can take a W against Snake Eye with a deck like Prank Kids, I'm definitely going to count that as a win for sure. So let's take a look at our next duel here. Okay, our next opponent is going to be playing Mikanko. This is one of those matchups where not having the Underworld Goddess can be pretty scary. That card is very, very good against Mikanko. But we do open a pretty solid hand here. I'm very glad to be winning coin flips again after my last play session with Snake Eye, and it was actually the first few games of this play session too. Yeah, my first like 6 games or so with this deck, again, it was all on stream. So you can check that out. The VOD will be up on Twitch. It'll also be up on my second YouTube channel. Both links are in the description below. We were not having a good time for the first like 6 or so games of this deck. I was like still losing coin flips. I was getting max seed. When I lost the coin flip, I was opening terribly when I didn't. But this was the first game where I won a coin flip, and I opened a playable hand. And I was like, you know, maybe things are going to be okay. And indeed, this is going to show off more of a typical Prank Kid turn 1 combo. Last time we got interrupted by the Imperm there, so we didn't get to show off what the line is all about. But I'll try to, if I remember to, I should just be able to grab it from one of the old descriptions. Link my Prank Kids combo guide in the description below, because that combo guide should still actually be relevant. That should still be, is still relevant for this build here, so. Yeah, this is one of those decks that, like, not only is it an older deck, but, you know, again, we have the Promethean Princess in the extra, but it really can't make much use of it, or really any other newer cards, right? So that is another thing that Prank Kids kind of has going against it, right? Not only is it lower on the scale in terms of power creep, but it doesn't even really get to make use of any tools that have come out since they were last hit by the ban list. Unless there's a build out there that I'm just not aware of. I know there's that like Prank Kids Snake Eye deck that was on like DK's video or whatever, but I wanted to try out a more traditional adventure pranks before I looked into builds like that. Not that I think a build like that is bad, not by any means. So here opponent is going to get to Lava Golem me, but thankfully we still have Dropsies, Fansies, and Lampsies in our hand to just fuse them away for the Battle Butler with a great animation there. You do want to summon Battle Butler in the EMZ. Here it didn't end up mattering, but typically if you've got like a full combo, right, then you're not going to have enough room in the main zone to summon all 3 Prank Kids unless you summon the Battle Butler to the EMZ. So that's why I did it there, if you're wondering. Again, here it didn't matter, but it typically does, so. Definitely going to want to max C as soon as this priority gets passed back to me. As I didn't want them to just drop another Kaiju, but here they get to just bounce and then summon the Lava Golem. So, thankfully for me, though, I do not only have the Imperm, but I also have 10,000 life points, as the Prank Kids do naturally gain you some life. which can come up a lot, especially against OTK decks like Mikanko. Although, to be fair, if they have, like, the Psychic Blade, then it kind of doesn't really matter. But here they're trying to just get enough monsters to be able to lethal me, which I actually don't think they could have even with 3. No, because I would have dealt 9,000, I would have still been at 1,000. But either way, I'm going to call by their Hare as they attempt to bring her back. Yeah, even if they had managed to bring her back, though, I still would have lived here. Which, again, it's a very minor thing that the prank kids do, gaining life points incidentally, but it does come up. Oh, no, the lava golem would have killed me if I hadn't called by, though. Ah, that's what it was. Okay. That's it. That makes more sense. So here I'm going to start by Nightmare Unicorning away the face down. And we do have non-targeted destruction in the form of access code. So I can use that to get rid of the equip spell and then the monsters. But, yeah, if there's a card that can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects, if it's both, then you would need an Underworld Goddess in this build to be able to out it. That's why I was talking earlier about how important it is to have the Underworld Goddess in the deck there. Yeah, opponent's going to try to equip the Ohime, or with the Ohime effect, rather. I'm just going to use the Imperm on it and not end up having to worry about it here. And because we do have our opponent's Lava Golem, that combined with the access code will be enough damage to OTK them here. But I'm just going to go ahead and get rid of their whole field before I do that, of course. Going to get rid of the Huli. And even though it's negated, I'll just get rid of the Ohime as well. Why not? Alright, battle with the access code. And then for good measure, we'll just finish them off with their own Lava Golem. Alright. There is that game. Still have a couple more to see. Let us check those out here. Okay, this opponent is going to be on Runick Mill, and I do mean mill. Like, you might be thinking, like, oh, Runick mills all the time. What are you talking about? But this is a build that's going to be specifically focused on trying to mill me out. They're even going to start with my least favorite card in all of Yu-Gi-Oh! One Day of Peace. I actually, truly, and utterly despise this card. I don't think there's ever been a deck that's used this that's wanted to do fair, fun, and interactive things. And indeed, well, I don't think my opponent's deck is particularly unfair. It's not, like, stupid powerful or anything, but does want to do unfun and uninteractive things. See, that's the thing that I think a lot of people would question me on. They'd be like, Lex, what do you mean your opponent's deck isn't unfair? Like, it's trying to mill you out. Of course that's unfair. When I say unfair, I really mean in terms of, like, power level, right? I mean in terms of, like, it has an unfair advantage over most decks in the meta because of its inherent power level. Runick Mill does not have that problem. This deck is unfun, and it's annoying, but it's also not good. Not particularly good. I don't think it's, like, an awful deck. I don't think it's, like, trash unplayable, but there are a lot of people who would say this deck is unfair, and I understand what they mean from the standpoint of they don't like their cards getting, like, milled and banished, but from a power level standpoint, yeah, I think it's fine. Our opponent's actually just the best player in the world, though, and they just kind of casually peeled Fountain off the top of their deck, so yeah, you know, that kind of bit of counterplay I had there with the form of Imperm didn't really end up mattering, as they are gonna get to just draw 3 cards here. It's pretty brutal, but, you know, it is what it is. Alright, they're going to set one monster and then pass, which I thought was really interesting. In hindsight, I now know this is Morphing Jar. During the actual game itself, I didn't really know what was going on here. I thought it was like a random hand trap or something. But looking at their list, they do play Morphing Jar, and I'm going to assume that's what this monster is. Oh, we did draw Ash Blossom, a couple of copies of it, actually. And even if we're not going to top deck Ash Blossom off the 1 max C draw, against their Fountain top deck, you know, this is still as good a point as any to Ash Blossom here, right? Just denying them that draw, even 1 card. It's like, it's so important for a deck like this. Because that 1 card could so easily be like Freezing Curses or Flashing Fire or something else that's really just going to fuck me up. So it's like, let's just get it. Just get that draw out of here, not even have to worry about it. So here, even though it's not going to be an OTK, I'm still going to go for a Nightmare Unicorn access code. I'm definitely going to want a Nightmare Unicorn the face down monster because, again, obviously during the game itself, I didn't know that this was Morphing Jar. But better safe than sorry. It's like, you know, There's so many situations where you attack into a random face-down monster and it just kind of ends up coming back to bite you, so I figured let's just get rid of it. I'm just going to use Nightmare Unicorn and pitch one of my Prank Kids and shuffle it back into the deck, and then I'm going to link these two off for the access code. Access code is going to allow us to get rid of the opponent's fountain and also the allure as well, but most importantly the fountain. And even if they manage to Runick spell for a Jerry to add back fountain and then have a second Runick spell, then I would still be able to Ash Blossom them. Oh yeah, I forgot about both of Jerry's other effects here. Don't mind me, not reading. I'm a Yu-Gi-Oh player who needs it. Getting a draw off of place for another Ash Blossom. The game's just like setting me up here against this Naturia. Well, you can see why I said Naturia against this Runick player. Excuse me, sorry about that. So, they summoned Cyber Valley. I don't know how many of you have ever seen this card before, but this card actually used to be pretty good back in the day. Well, it used to be decent back. Well, no, it was pretty good back in the day, but long story short, they're just going to be using the first effect here to banish this card, draw a card, then end the battle phase. But, being an effect that draws a card, I am, in fact, able to use the Ash Blossom against it. So now, I get to battle in for my 1,000 damage. More importantly, I denied them a draw. And now they don't have a monster on the field, I can freely combo, even though Kaiser Coliseum is in play. So, I'm going to take advantage of this moment to do a little bit of link climbing, and I think this is about the time when my opponent just, concedes. Because, like, what one card could a deck like this ever top deck, even if it was Morphing Jar? Like, I'm pretty much always going to be able to get rid of it without... Well, I don't know, though. I already used Nightmare Unicorn and access code. So in this situation, I might actually... Well, I have DPE still, so I'll just probably do that to try to, like, get rid of it without popping it, or without flipping it up, rather. Okay, yeah, I got one more game for us to see. Let us check it out here. Okay, our last opponent is going to be on a Snake Eye, but they're teching a package, and I'm not going to spoil just yet, but it'll be pretty interesting. It'll come up, you'll see it. Alright, taking the first turn here and just not opening. This was still in the middle of my, like, not having fun playing Master Duel streak, where when I finally did win a coin flip, I opened this hand, and I was like, okay, well, I guess we'll just try this. This hand can, though, if nothing else, it does actually make the DPE, so here's how we're going to do it. We're going to use the Fateful in order to set up the Adventure token. Then I'm going to link that token off for the Link Spider. This is why Link Spider is good, because now I can normal summon Ash Blossom, and then link these two for Vert Anaconda. Had to go into the Link Spider first, because Vert needs effect monsters, and the Adventure token is not an effect monster, but Link Spider is, so. Opponent is going to try to Valor the Vert. Thankfully it was a Valor and not an Imprint, because I do have the Called By in hand. So, with that, we are able to summon out the DPE. However, my opponent is going to have, as soon as this Chain Link resolves, let me... Oop, there's the DPE, and then I believe they just throw it out right away. It's the Nibiru. Yep, Nibiru. Well, after I set a card. Here I am going to use the DPE in response, of course, but I did misclick here, and I popped Fateful instead, which is actually going to come back to bite me in the ass later. I meant to pop the Vert and DPE, naturally, but I just wasn't even thinking about it, honestly. I just clicking cards. Again, as much as I do like chatting with folks while I stream, it does have a noticeable impact on my gameplay, I will say. It's the catch-22 with streaming for me, right? Because, like, I want to be talking to people and acknowledging them as they come into chat, right? Like, but at the same time, like I said, doing so, it nosedives my gameplay as far as, like, the quality. I mean, you saw that in our first game against Snake Eye in this video. Ugh. I did not play it very well. To be fair, neither did our opponent, but that doesn't excuse my misplaying. Okay, we do get to imperm the Snake Eye Ash here. Our opponent's going to use the field spell instead of the Flamberge. They're then going to link into Hita. Hita is going to activate the effect to add the Ash Blossom. I do not want a DPE, because my opponent actually hasn't used their normal summon yet. And of course, if I destroy the Hita, then I'll get to just give them a search, right? I am going to DPE when they summon the Promethean Princess, though, Otherwise, they get to summon back Snake Eye Ash and activate the effect. Thankfully for me, they didn't actually have a monster in hand to normal summon, so... Also, nice, you know, just drawing Fusion Destiny, the worst draw in my deck. Couldn't have drawn, like, I don't know, any one of my Prank Kids monsters, which make up more than half of my deck at this point, but, yeah, you know, it is what it is, I guess. I'm not bitter about it at all. No. Well, I am, but... what can you do, though? It's just how Yu-Gi-Oh! Goes sometimes. Sometimes it feels like the game is rigged against you, but it's not. Don't think that it is. Yeah. If you ever start to seriously have the thought that the coin flip or PAX or whatever might be rigged, like, especially the coin flip in particular, I see people unironically, even in the comments of my Snake Eye video, I saw people unironically claiming the coin flip, you know, is rigged. Let me pose this question to you, and that'll debunk this theory. Why would Konami spend time, money, and resources to rig the coin flip, making a worse game experience for the player, causing them to not want to play? And before you just snap automatically answer money, I want you to really think about it. In what way would rigging the coin flip make them more money? Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. like, it just doesn't make any sense if you think about it for, like, you know, longer than 5 seconds. They don't rig PAX either, by the way. That's super illegal. That would make more sense because that would make them money, but they still don't because it's super illegal. Yeah, nothing in digital card games are rigged. It's true of literally every digital card game. Just you can take off your tinfoil hats, and you will be a happier person for it. I promise you will. But yeah, here's the little unique engine they have here. They have a little bit of a Sky Striker package. Being able to engage for the Hornet drones for Kagari, and then Kagari can wheel the drones back to the hand. That can potentially set you up for a Link 2. It gets a fire, so it's a neat little package here. Yeah, but with him taking my DPE, it's just like there's no... And also me not drawing a single Prank Kids monster in my Prank Kids deck, by the way. Between those two factors, yeah, we're definitely just gonna have to call it here. So it's like, yeah, we lost to Snake Eye, which is, you know, the best deck in the meta. But again, I mean, actually at the end there, if I had drawn a Prank Kid, it wouldn't have mattered anymore because they had my DPE. But it's like, here's where I'd summon my Prank Kids if I had one. That's good. All right, that's going to do it for this video. Thank you all so very much for watching. Yeah, let's go ahead and move now to our outro. Hey everybody, thank you so much for watching all the way to the end of the video. That means a lot to me. It's also a great way to support the channel, so thank you very much in that way as well. If you're interested in supporting the channel in other ways, like the very special patrons that I am thanking here, you can do so by checking out some of the links in the description. One of those goes to the Patreon, where you can join these fine folk and support the channel that way. I do post daily content over on Patreon, so you do get something for support there. And if you're interested, I also have a coaching tier option as well. Details again will be on Patreon in the link below. Also in the description linked below is my Twitch page where I stream a few times a week. You can go ahead and check that out, follow or subscribe over there if you ever want to catch me live. You'll also find my second YouTube channel if you feel like subscribing over there to watch some of the Twitch VODs as well as some additional non-Yu-Gi-Oh related content that I make over there. Again, any of those links you want to check out is all a great way of supporting. But again, even if you don't do that, just watching was also a fantastic way to support. And once again, I have to thank you so very much. But in any case, this is Hexlex. I'm going to be signing out, and I'm hoping you have a fantastic day.